Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Leslie Ticktin, Director of Admissions, and on behalf of the admissions team, it's such a pleasure to welcome you to our Wolf Wednesday. We really appreciate that you're making time to be with us. We know it's tough sometimes now that everyone's back at school and back at work to get back onto a Zoom meeting. So we appreciate you being here. We've planned these weekly Zoom events throughout the fall through December. And tonight the topic is social justice and inclusion, and we'll also touch on our community engagement experiences. These virtual events are intentionally designed to be on the smaller side. We want to help you get to know JCHS and our community better, and we just want to keep getting to know you and your family. So I'd like to give you a little plan about what's going to happen this evening. Next slide, please. To start off, you've all been on Zoom plenty for the last year and a half, but here's some quick notes about the meeting. We'd love to see you. So if you're comfortable with it and you're okay with that, go ahead and start the video function. We're going to keep everyone muted except for our student ambassadors and our professional community. And if you have questions, we really want you to use the chat function. You can send a chat to everyone for all of us to see, or if you want to just send a private message to me or to Ms. Hunt or to Ms. Kushnir, we will make sure that our panel receives the questions. Next slide. Who's here? We've got a great program for you tonight. We're thrilled to welcome you, our 8th grade students, and your families. And we've been so happy to be in touch with so many of you already. If you haven't had the chance to connect with us yet, I want to just introduce our admissions team. Our wonderful, warm, and welcoming admissions associate, Michelle Kushnir, and our kind, calm, and compassionate director of enrollment management, Mary Ellen Hunt. For the next 40 minutes or so, you're going to hear from us, as well as our fantastic Director of Social Justice and Inclusion, Roni Ben-David. Ms. Ben-David is also the Dean of Student Life, and she's really excited to tell you more about all of our wonderful programs at JCHS and answer your questions. We also have 6 student ambassadors, Hana, Zoe, Avital, Billy, Nathan, and Sabine, and they're going to answer your questions that some of you have sent us already in the Google form and the ones that you ask us in the chat tonight. And they'll introduce themselves in just a bit, but first, Michelle Kushnir is going to just remind you about a few admission steps.
I clearly have not been on Zoom long enough because I forgot to unmute myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Kushnir. I'm both a proud JCHS alumna and a member of the JCHS professional community. It's been so lovely to speak with many of you as you're beginning the application process, and it's exciting to see some familiar faces amongst the Zoom squares tonight. If we haven't been on a phone or Zoom call together, I look forward to connecting with you really soon. We wanted to make sure that you know a few things about the next steps in the admissions process. Next slide, please. First, by now we hope that you've had a chance to take a look at the JCHS application timeline on your Ravenna account. And if you've been exploring to use Ravenna terms, you can now click the apply button at the top of your timeline to see the full application timeline and all of the application forms. Here's a screenshot from the timeline of our sample student to show you where that button is. Make sure you check in with your teachers about recommendation forms. They like to know these things ahead of time. And again, if you have any questions about the application process, please feel free to reach out to us in admissions. And a special thank you to those of you who've already submitted the parent guardian form. Once that is submitted, we can schedule your student interview. And we'll have more on that in a future Friday email from us. Next slide, please. Speaking of our Friday emails, all families who have inquired, that includes all of you here tonight, receive an email from JCHS Admissions each Friday afternoon. We review some of the important things that come up during the week, share special announcements, and we always include an admissions timeline. So be sure to check those out. Next slide, please. And third, we're thrilled to announce that we now have in-person visits to JCHS. We're allowed to invite fully vaccinated guests onto campus, so please be sure to check out our tour schedule on Ravenna, and you can register for all of our in-person visits and tours, and also these virtual Wolf Wednesdays if you want to come to a few more of these. Now I'm going to turn it over to Leslie, and she'll tell you a little bit more about the specific details of our in-person events.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, we're going to talk about the tours and visits just really quick because we want to clarify for people. There's two different types of events for in-person at JCHS. So the difference between a tour and a visit, all in-person visitors, first of all, must provide proof of vaccination ahead of time. And the group sizes for all of these things will be very limited. Parent and student tours, those will be on school days when our current JCHS students have virtual learning. So we'll invite you onto campus and you'll see classrooms, you'll see our learning spaces. However, teachers and JCHS students will not be on campus during these tours, but we're going to show you what a day in the life is like. And then separately, there are student visits, and these experiences are for students only, 8th grade students only. Parents are also invited at the same time to join us in the front courtyard. They can stay outside for an informal program, but they won't be permitted in the building during the visit when our JCHS students are on campus. Students, visitors will be required to wear a mask throughout the visit, and this will really be a chance for 8th graders to walk through the JCHS campus, meet some of our community, and again, see what a typical school day is like. The tours will be co-led by student ambassadors. 8th graders will have a chance to ask questions, stop by some classrooms. And again, parents will be invited to meet outside in our front courtyard, and we'll have some parent ambassadors there as well. This is optional. Both of these things are optional and not required. We, again, hope this is just the beginning of the conversation with you and your family, and that we're going to see a lot of you more throughout the fall at our virtual and our in-person events. So that's it for the admission announcements. Now that Michelle and I have shared some important info, we're ready for the part of Wolf Wednesday that you signed up for. So I'm thrilled to introduce Miss Roni Ben-David, and she's going to tell you about our social justice and inclusion programs and introduce you to our fabulous student ambassadors, and she'll moderate a fun Q&A for all of you. So take it away, Miss Ben-David.
Hey, I'm so excited to see so many of you here today. I was already excited to hang out a bit with our student ambassadors before this started. So I just want to start with an introduction and just a brief overview of the programs that exist at JCHS, and then we'll focus mostly on students sharing. This is my 16th year at JCHS. I say I'm a lifer here. I really love it at this school. And I started teaching a Jewish social justice class in 2013. What I love and what I've learned in teaching this class is I've talked to people at schools around the country that have a social justice class. And I keep thinking, like, I feel so lucky to teach a social justice class at a Jewish school, because I get to ground the learning we're doing in these core Jewish values and principles, upholding a person's dignity, looking out for the vulnerable, and the pursuit of justice as an obligation, not just sort of, if we feel inspired to. And that's really unique among independent schools. So we hear the word inclusion thrown around a lot. And I just want to say, for us, inclusion is pretty simple. We want every student to feel seen, welcome, and needed. And like they have a real stake in co-creating the school. We know that our big goals in having a social justice program are to maintain this kind of school culture. And it has to be that way for each student to fulfill their full talent development, to bring it. And also on the most basic level, in order to really fully learn, you have to feel seen and respected, and like you can bring your full self. I think a lot of us know that intuitively. We also want to prepare our students to be making positive change out in the world from a place of self-awareness and understanding strategies for social change, and really how to understand social inequality from a systemic way. What are the root causes? So what does that look like? It looks like a lot of things. Let me see here's our mission. So if we want them to do that, we have to give them lots of opportunities to do the learning. And I'll say that a few of them, and you'll hear more about them tonight, are classes. So in freshman year, students take a course called Identity Matters, where we get sort of a shared language for talking about identity and the ways that it impacts our lens, how we see the world, and how we experience world and access power. And then there's the Jewish social justice course, but we also have a new tzedek program. This might even be new for our student ambassadors. And it's a pilot program in the school where teachers across all disciplines, math, science, Jewish studies, arts, humanities, all of them, get tools in order to teach units or lessons that really engage students in deep self-reflection and critical analysis to better understand the root causes of inequality. That's our tzedek program. We also have weekly all-school assemblies. Well, now they're almost weekly, where we learn about local and global issues with a focus on lifting up voices they might not otherwise hear, that counter stereotypical depictions. And we have a lot of leadership opportunities, and some of our students here can talk about the conferences that they've gone to. And behind the scenes, the professional community, our faculty and staff do a lot of learning together. So we have faculty workshops, book clubs, lunchtime roundtables on topics like creating an identity-safe classroom, or understanding stereotype threat, or turning biased comments into teachable moments. And we're constantly doing that learning and growth ourselves because we teach who we are. So we really have to be doing that learning. We have a steering committee that spearheads this work, but also a student advisory board, which is the student group that's working towards inclusion. And I'll just close by saying we are active members in the Jewish Social Justice Roundtable, and that's been a really rich partnership. And now I want us to introduce, I'd love to invite the student ambassadors to introduce themselves. And let's see, maybe we'll just do it. I'll just call on each of you based on where I see your box. So Zoe, you want to be first? You can say your name, your grade, some stuff that you're involved in at school.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm a senior. I'm from San Francisco, and I am I am student body president, actually. I am one of the co-leaders of the Young Activist Club, also one of the founders. I have volunteered with the Village Project, where I've led science classes and meditation classes, also done some tutoring, and I was a senior buddy.
All right, I had a 4-year-old burst into here. Okay, let's go with Avital next.
Hi, I'm Avital. I'm a junior. I live in Daly City. This year I'm co-leading GSA with Hana and another leader, Leora. She's not here today. I'm working with the Beat Within, which is a writing program for incarcerated youth. I'm doing some other volunteering outside of school, but that's what I'm doing in school right now.
Right on, thank you. Let's go next to Hana.
Hi, I'm Hana. I use she, her pronouns. And we were supposed to say what middle school we went to, right?
If you want.
Okay. I went to this Synergy school. Yeah, it's small private school. It's not very well known. And I live in San Francisco. My twin is Zoe, and I am the social justice and inclusion exec. It's part of student government at our school. It's called Knesset. And something that I do right now is I'm also a co-leader and co-founder of the Young Activist Club, as well as co-leader of the GSA. And yeah, I've also done the village project where I did sing-alongs with some of the kids and kind of learned about how to do music with them. And that's just some stuff that I've done at school. There's been a lot of other things too.
Right on, thanks. And the village program is like a after-school program in the neighborhood. Nathan, take it away.
Okay, my name's Nathan. I went to Brandeis School of San Francisco. I am co-leading the Student Teacher Advisory Board with Sabine Solka, who I think we'll talk a little later. But it's kind of, I think Ms. Ben-David mentioned it, but it's a way for students to be really involved in the community without necessarily being a part of the student government. And it's really about working inside of the kind of what students are facing. So in the past, we've gotten rid of the dress code that mostly targeted young women. And I've also done some volunteering outside of JCHS.
Thanks. Sabine.
Hi, my name is Sabine. I'm a senior right now, and I went to Park Day School, and I live in Oakland. Park Day's in Oakland, but I go to school obviously in San Francisco. And some of the things that I've done in the past 4 years and that I'm currently a part of, well, I do swimming at the school as a sport. I've been a part of theater in the past. I'm co-leading Student Teacher Advisory Board with Nathan, who just spoke. I also am a co-founder and lead Young Activist Club at the school, and I'm also part of Chess Club at our school, as well as Fashion and Compassion, which is a really cool program where JCHS puts on like a fashion show with like really high leading like brands, and then all the proceeds go to an organization. And I last year I participated in tutoring little kids through JCHS, so that was really fun. And I'm also a senior buddy. Yeah.
Thanks. Billy, bring us home.
Yep, I'm Billy. I'm a senior. I live in San Francisco. I'm a skateboarder and a photographer. I run the skateboard club at JCHS, and I went to Everett Middle School. I'm not a part of any organizations at the moment, but I do things here and there that mostly involve social justice.
Thanks, Billy. All right, so I'm going to throw out some questions and then we can open it up to everyone. Feel free to put them in the chat. Hana, you're our first social justice and inclusion exec. It was a new position that was added to student government to Knesset this year. And I'm wondering, since you're the first, you get to sort of have a vision for what that role is. Can you talk a little bit about what that position means to you?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Something popped up. Yeah. So I'm really happy that I'm able to take on this role because I think it really is the perfect role for everything that I do and everything I'm passionate about. So I work alongside Ms. Ben-David, and I try and take and make sure that every diverse voice at our school is heard. And I want to make sure that it's a safe space for anyone to come in. And I also want to educate people about social issues that are currently happening. And I think that by having people come in during our community blocks, having speakers come in to really educate people on certain issues is something I really want to work on, and something that I'm going to be doing this year, as well as I'm also a part of the student advisory board, student teacher advisory board, and I'm the Knesset voice of that. So basically I come in and we talk about students talk about things that they want to change. And I kind of take that and talk to Knesset about that, or I take Knesset parts of my role and I bring that into the school to see what people's issues are. And I can help fix any problems that could be happening. And I just want people to feel safe and feel like their voice is heard. And that's just what the position means to me.
Thanks, Hana. No, I believe in you. Avital, you're a co-leader of our GSA. And last year we had a really unusual year where we were off campus. We were distance learning most of the year. And shortly after we got back, the GSA put on a Pride Week at the school. So it was one of our first in-person events at the school. And you worked hard with the rest of the GSA to help put that on. I'm wondering why you think GSA is important at JCHS and sort of what it means to you to be part of that leadership.
So I wasn't a leader of GSA last year, but I was pretty active in it. And now I'm co-leading it this year. And I think, so also for those of you who don't know, GSA is Gender Sexuality Alliance. It's kind of a group or a space where people who identify or don't, or however, for people just to come and feel safe in their identity and their expression, to explore and be curious. So in that space, we, talk about gender identity and expression and sexuality and fluidity, and kind of work to make JCHS a space that feels and is comforting and accepting and welcoming of all types of people. And so that's kind of like the main priority, I feel like, of GSA, is learning and then also accommodating and teaching ourselves how to support one another and our peers and our families and our friends, but also how to support ourselves in our expression and exploration. And I think that it's so important to have spaces like that, because that's what makes JCHS feel so welcoming, is that there's a place for everybody. There's a place to be yourself in every aspect of that, to really explore and get to know who you are and also the people that you're going to school with. And I think it's so important to have spaces like that where you can be like as authentically you as you can, and feel safe and good in that. So that's what GSA is for me.
Thanks, Avital. Billy, I'm going to turn to you. We like to think that JCHS is a place where you can take something that you feel passionate about and bring it to the rest of the school. And I wonder if you can speak to what that's meant to you in terms of bringing a social issue that's important to you personally to the bigger school community.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of weeks ago, me and Sabina, we worked on like a presentation that went up in the comments that shed some light on individuals rather than a collective of people facing homelessness, to emphasize that like these are people. And it was, a lot of we put up QR codes for places that you can volunteer, along with videos of interviews with people facing homelessness. These videos were taken off YouTube, off this amazing person that does these interviews. And I chose these particular interviews because the interviews that were up were about people that normally you wouldn't think would be the kind of person that would go and have to face homelessness. So people with law degrees, people, who a year ago had their own small business. Because I think, myself, because I live in San Francisco and I walk around the city so much, I see so much of homelessness, and I've been around it for so long. I'm very desensitized to it. But I also see every day how bad it is. So I really wanted to bring some education to JCHS and just do a small project. Wasn't part of any class or anything, but also props to Sabina. She's not here, but she helped me with it. I have to give her the acknowledgement. So did Miss Ben-David. The three of us, we worked together, we got it up, and it was up on Sukkot in honor of the holiday of Sukkot, because if you don't know, Sukkot's the holiday of shelter. So I thought it was only appropriate to shed light on people who didn't have that.
Thanks, Billy. Sabine and Nathan, both of you are leading this year's student advisory board, and you described already what that is in the school. I'm curious, I would love for each of you to just speak a little bit about what role you think students have in creating an inclusive community, and sort of what motivates you personally. And either of you start. Yeah.
Sabine, are you okay with me starting? Okay, great. So I'd say a lot of people ask me, like, student teacher advisory board, how is that different from like student government, or how is that different from, just having some other, I mean, with JCHS, there's all kinds of ways that you can be involved in the community. What makes Student Teacher Advisory Board different? And I think it really is a place where I've had a lot of people come into our meetings thinking, oh, hey, this isn't going to go anywhere. I'm going to kind of tell my story and tell my experiences, and it's not really going to be utilized by the school. And from what I know, people are really surprised by how much consideration is put into people's ideas. I mean, people started thinking, oh, hey, I really feel like I'm not able to express myself. I'm really feeling uncomfortable with this dress code. And, you know, there is no more of these restrictions because of students. Like this wasn't a administrative idea. This was something that came from the community. So I'd say it's really all about the students. I mean, even with me and Sabine leading this club, it's all about making space for students to really tell us what they think. Because I mean, Jewish Community High School, it's a real part of our school. Sabine, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Nathan, you said it perfectly. Miss Ben-David, do you think there's anything I should add like that I'm not thinking?
Yeah, you know, I would say, Sabine, for you personally, like you've come up in the student advisory board, and I wonder, what has it meant to you personally, I guess, you know, to be part of that club?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's really impactful to get to feel like and actually have a voice in making change in any way. Like if you see anything you want to change or not even change, like the school has a problem. It's like if you want to add something to create a better community, an even better, you know, being at the school, I think this is a way to definitely be able to do it. And so I think that's what it's really meant to me, just like getting to be able to come and share what you're thinking about and have your voice actually listened to.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And Zoe, you're somebody who's like many of you on the panel. Zoe, you do quite a bit of service outside of JCHS. And I'm curious if it's sort of just what motivates you as a person to do all that service, and also what role does JCHS have in supporting or inspiring you in terms of doing that work?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in social justice. I just have this deep desire to help people and help the world because it's given me so much. So I feel I have an obligation to give back. But JCHS has really fostered that, whether it be through the curriculum or just the teachers or the people I surround myself with. There was one class in particular, besides Jewish social justice, surprisingly, which I'm taking right now and loving, called Intro to Rabbinic Literature, which all sophomores, or not all sophomores, but most sophomores take. And one of the projects is we had to make a sukkah that relates to a social justice issue. And that incorporates the values of Sukkot. I did mine on the prison system. I know a lot of people did theirs on like homelessness. And I kind of took this as inspiration. A year later, during like around a year ago, I made my own social justice-y inspired sukkah, keeping in mind what I learned in the project, the values of Sukkot. I did a lot of political campaign work, like registering people to vote and spreading voter information, stuff like that. So I really took that as inspiration, and beyond something so explicit as Jewish social justice, it really feels like every single class in some way can relate to the aspect of social justice, whether it be in math, you're trying to solve problems, or in JS when you're learning about like issues that are the exact same as today. It really is all connected and has really inspired me to keep working politically.
Thank you, and thanks for all that good work. So I'm hearing some themes come up. Finding ways to make personal meaning of the curriculum. So it's like, how does it play out in the real world, and what's your role in that? And also this sense of purpose to serve something bigger than you, which is making JCHS a place where all voices are heard, where people feel safe and seen, and having that experience yourselves, or bringing education like Billy described. So that's awesome. And I know I have more questions, but I want to also answer questions from the guests. So one question is, a lot of you talk about being parts of other clubs and things. How do you manage your schoolwork and the time it takes to be active in a club? Zoe, your hand's up. So maybe just for the rest of the group, maybe you can just talk about some of your strategies.
Yeah, for me, I don't like involving myself with things that don't actively inspire me and give me energy. So, I mean, being a leader or one of the leaders of the Young Activist Club, I don't think that's particularly exhausting or time consuming. It's just something I like to do. It's something I would be doing in my free time outside of school if it wasn't a thing. So my, I guess, advice is find something that you just are consistently motivated to do.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to add anything to that one? I think that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of you have gone to conferences, either in person or in the last year and a half, they've been virtual. National conferences where students who are interested in social justice can come together and connect and learn. And I'm wondering if anyone wants to speak to an experience you had at a conference that the school sent you to, an experience that stuck with you or shaped the way that you see the world. And I'm just going to open that up. Avital, I see your hand up.
So I attended the SDLC conference. I think it was last year. I'm not entirely sure. Which in and of itself, I mean, that entire experience was so fascinating, so interesting. I feel like I learned a lot and I got to know a lot of really like beautiful through and through people. And I've always, so the point I'm making is that I feel like I went in knowing a lot and being super like social justice oriented, and then I went in and I learned how little I actually knew and how much more there needs to be done, how much more I can be doing, and it just like re-sparked that passion I had. I've always considered myself a feminist my whole life. Can't remember a time where I haven't felt that way. And we were talking about feminism in one of our like affinity spaces, and I remember someone used the word womanism, and I didn't know what that meant. And if you don't know what that means, womanism is basically, it's like a woman of color driven feminism, because a lot of the time feminism is presenting mostly like it's like a white woman feminism, and a lot of the time these like the activists and the pursuits are very white focused, and it didn't really occur to me, being white, how privileged I was in the fact that like the feminism that I'm seeing, the feminism that I'm experiencing is already so much more amplified because of the color of my skin. And so I went into this conference and then I left, and I'm so much more aware of the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm saying, and how I can take my feminism and make it like bring it beyond just white woman feminism, beyond just that, and how to make it like take environment to make it all inclusive for all people of all types and all genders, ethnicities, etc.
Thanks, Avital. Nathan, let's hear what you want to share. I also see Hana's hand up, but Nathan, go for it.
So I went to the White Privilege Conference. I guess it was last year, and it was honestly a really eye-opening experience for me as well. I don't think I could have said it better than Avital. When I went into it, I thought, I kind of understand this topic, and it really, when you hear from so many voices, and you're really in this space for a while, I think it was a couple of days, you really get a sense of how much there is to learn, and also the fact that think a lot of people get caught up in the idea of it's a minefield of trying to say the right thing, of trying to act the right way. But it's a really powerful way to kind of go back to, why are we going through all of this? If it's so difficult, I mean, what's the point? And it really has to do with like these deep rooted issues. It was just a really powerful experience to kind of think about in my everyday life, how that relates to, my own privilege and just seeing other people and really acknowledging them and their own struggles.
Thanks, Nathan. Right on. Hana, do you want to share?
Yeah. Okay. Hi. So I attended the SDLC last year Student Diversity Leadership Conference. And I mean, I feel like the SDLC was such like truly life-changing. Like to be immersed in such a diverse space really helped me develop my understanding of my privilege of being white. And listening to what marginalized groups had to say about systemic racism in America had really helped. It really helped me learn how to effectively support them as an ally. And I've at the conference, you meet people all around the world that share the same values as myself, which was just like social justice and equality and equity. And people it was such a loving and accepting place. People did not judge you or use your vulnerability as a way to attack you, but rather as a way to perceive you as a human being. And I feel like the world often is filled with ignorance and hostility, but this place, like the SDLC, was filled with so many people of my own age that was full of acceptance and love. And it really gave me hope for a future to see other people that share the same values as me, and I would like to want to make the world a better place. And I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity to attend the SDLC. It was a really incredible experience.
Thanks so much. What I love about what you all are sharing is that it's like the learning that we do can't just happen in the building. It also has to happen out in the world, whether it's at conferences or us getting in a car and driving to Sacramento to do some lobbying or meeting with people in the Western Addition. This morning, I went with ninth graders on a tour of the neighborhood of the Fillmore to learn more about the history of the neighborhood. Just learning and listening to local leaders, community activists. So we're gonna close in the next, we'll be done by 7:45. And one question that came up is, why JCHS? Why did you choose JCHS? And I recognize that you're all, we have a junior and seniors, so that was a long time ago. And probably why you're at JCHS now is maybe even different from why you made that decision as an eighth grader. But if you could answer like why JCHS in one sentence right now. So think about it. Why JCHS in one sentence? It could be your eighth grade self, or it could be now being there for a while. Why? And then we'll go down, and that'll be sort of our close. And Hana, you're already still spotlighted, at least on my screen. Why JCHS in one sentence? Did I give you enough time?
You want me to go first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say the reason why I chose JCHS, I think the reason why, sorry, this is not a full sentence, but the reason why I chose JCHS has not changed from why I chose in eighth grade. It's really just the community. I came in there, I didn't have the greatest experience in middle school, and being able to go to a school that I was fully accepted, and I don't know, I just felt so loved and I felt safe. Like, I think that's like the main thing. Like, I felt like safe and I felt so understood, and I was actually able to find like people so similar to me that shared similar values. And I will be forever grateful to that I went to JCHS. And with this being my last year, I'm every day like almost start crying because I'm just so sad that I have to leave in a year. And I'm trying to find colleges as similar to JCHS as I can, because the community is just incredible.
Thanks, Hana. And thank you. Let's go, Billy, 1 or 2 sentences. Why JCHS?
At least for me, I was instantly gravitated towards like the overwhelming sense of community like there was no, I went to a really big public school, and I just had a hard time like talking to people. And, I went to a school where there just wasn't like a lot of people like me. And there was something that was like, I also just went to a school with like, I was maybe the only Jewish person, maybe one other person. So I was really gravitated by like the Jewish community. I think that's what like initially caught my eye, along with the accommodations that they have for ADHD. It's just like really, it's an incredible learning environment for sure.
Right on. Thanks, Billy. Sabine, what about you?
Honestly, what everyone else has just said, like the overwhelming amount of community that there is at JCHS. I have toured so many schools, and like that was the JCHS was the one that like it was like so different from all the rest. Like the amount of community, the amount of support that you get, the amount of like love and kindness that is just in the air like all the time is just astounding. It's incredible, and I really relate to what both Hana and Billy said. And again, the learning support is really incredible here, and the teachers really care about you and really try and make an effort to get to know you, and everyone is like friends, and so that's just why I think I was driven to JCHS, and like why I continue to like feel the love, and like why I love the school.
Thanks, Sabine.
Yeah.
Zoe, you want to go next?
Yeah, you're really encouraged to deep dive in your learning and take what you learn beyond the actual like concepts. Like you're not just learning math to learn math. You're not just learning science to learn science. You're learning good work ethic. You're learning how to solve problems. You're learning how to be a leader. You're learning how to be collaborative. It's really, JCHS has a place for every type of learner, whether it be like someone who needs like accommodation, someone who's more of a visual learner, a hands-on learner. There's every single class for you that can foster to every single type of kid. And I think it's really cool to have so many options to really explore like in education.
Thank you. Let's go, Nathan.
I definitely say, everyone has just done such a great job about talking about it. And I think JCHS is really a place of, like, if it was one sentence, I'd say it's love without question. Like, it doesn't matter what you're interested in, what kind of classes you want to take, really, like, there's a place for everyone. I don't know a single person who hasn't found a place in JCHS that they really feel at home in. And I think I can talk for everyone here that everyone at JCHS has some place that feels safe, that feels like home.
Thanks, Nathan. And Avital, you want to wrap us?
I think all of the important things have been said. There is so much love at JCHS. I remember on my shadow, I was like so nervous coming in. I remember sitting in the car outside of the school and being like, I don't want to go. And I was like so afraid. And I went, and it was just so like welcoming, and everyone was so just excited to meet me and like bring me into their conversations and tell me about this class they're taking and why it's so great and why I should take it when I come. It wasn't even a question of like if I was coming, it was when I was coming. And it was just like such like a wonderful place to be. And then at the end of my shadow, I remember waiting in the lobby to go home when everyone was leaving. People were just like hugging each other. Like I didn't go to a school where people hugged each other goodbye at the end of the day. Like people were waiting to give their friends hugs and, say, I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll see you over the weekend. And it was just so like pure and full of love. And I was like, this is a place for me. This is a place where I see the love. I feel the love, and I want to spend time here. So that's why that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. And you all obviously create that and keep that going. So thank you all. And with that, I think we're going to close. I'll turn it over to Leslie to bring us home.
Thank you. They couldn't follow the rules there because they just have so much passion about being at JCHS. So you could just see it in all of your smiles. Thank you so much, Ms. Ben-David. And of course, a big thank you to Hana and Zoe and Avital and Billy and Nathan and Sabine. We really, really treasure hearing your stories and your experiences about why you love JCHS and what makes our school so special. Also want to thank you, the 8th grade families, for joining us tonight. Please, like Ms. Kushnir said, check your inboxes each Friday for email from JCHS admissions, and we're going to highlight important questions from the week and update you on the application timeline. We really look forward to seeing you again soon at an upcoming tour or visit or one of our virtual open houses. And you're all welcome to join us again for future Wolf Wednesday events. So check Ravenna for those dates. So next, we're going to close tonight like we do every week with a sprinkling of positivity in the chat. So we invite you to share one thing you're grateful for after having spent some time learning more about social justice and inclusion and our community engagement, and just hearing from our ambassadors and Ms. Ben-David about JCHS. So type your word in the chat and stick around to read some others. And thank you. Be well.